Hello, my name is Valerie Stevens, and I tell stories. I do other things as well, but for now, for this time, in this space, I'm going to be telling stories. Now, I know I might have met some of you. If you've ever seen me tell stories, you know that I always start with a song. Do you know the song? This is a welcome song. This song comes from West Africa, and it is sung in the Yoruba language. I'm going to sing in Yoruba and English. It means welcome and peace to you. Amen, amen. And it goes like this. Funga alafia, ashe, ashe. Funga alafia, ashe, ashe. Do you know that? In English, it sounds like this. Welcome and peace to you. Amen, amen. Welcome and peace to you. Amen, amen. Isn't that a wonderful song? It's a wonderful way to greet friends and family. Oh yeah, I'm going to tell stories. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you 3 of my favorite stories. Some of you have probably heard them, and that's okay. That's what folk tales and stories are about, hearing it over again. The first story I'm going to tell you is simply called the ant story. The ant story comes from a country very close to ours. It comes from Cuba, and it goes like this. One day, an ant was walking down the road, and he stopped. He saw a huge breadcrumb with guava jelly. Ants love guava jelly. So he decided that he was going to take this breadcrumb home to feed his family. He got behind the breadcrumb and he started to push. He pushed and he pushed and he pushed. But he couldn't move the breadcrumb. So he decided to sit next to the breadcrumb, down on the ground, and think about how to get it home to feed his family. He sat there and he thought. Well, while he was thinking, down the road came a bee. Now, this bee had been in the fields over yonder, and he was loaded down with pollen on his way to his hive. He was flying low and slow. And the ant stopped the bee and said, "Excuse me, can you please help me move my breadcrumb? You see, I'm too small. I can't move it by myself." And the bee thought about it. And then the bee said, "No, I have to get my pollen off to my hive." And he flew away. Well, the ant felt a little bad, but he was far more concerned with getting this breadcrumb home to feed his family. So he continued to sit there and think about it. Well, down the road came a butterfly with beautiful wings. And she knew it too. This was a butterfly with an attitude. She flew very slowly so that all the other animals could see her beautiful wings. And she flew over to the ant, and the ant said, "Excuse me, can you help me move my breadcrumb? You see, I'm too small. I can't move it by myself." And the butterfly thought about it. And then she said, "No, I might get my wings dirty, and I'm much too beautiful to get my wings dirty," and flew away. Well, the ant felt really bad. You see, because whenever anyone asked for his help, he was always there for them. And now it seemed like nobody wanted to help him, and all he wanted to do was feed his family. So he continued to sit there and think about it. Down the road came a beetle. A trickster beetle. This beetle loved to play practical jokes on all the other animals. This beetle giggled when he walked. And the ant said to the beetle, "Excuse me, can you please help me move my breadcrumb? You see, I'm too small. I can't move it by myself." And the beetle thought about it. And then he said, "Okay, I'll help you." He walked around the breadcrumb. He bent down and he took a big bite. Oh! "I helped you," he said. "I helped you by making your breadcrumbs smaller." And went on down the road. How do you think the ant felt? Sad, bad, and a little mad. Now, watching all of this up in a tree was a spider, a grandmother spider. Now, you don't get to be a grandparent without learning something along the way. She got tired of listening to the ant say, "I can't do this and I can't do that," and she decided that she would do something about it. So she spun a web down, 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 over to the road and over to the ant. And the ant saw Grandmother Spider and he said, "Excuse me, can you please help me move my breadcrumb? You see, I'm too small. I can't move it by myself." Grandmother Spider said, "I'll help you. I'll help you by weaving a web around that breadcrumb and taking it back to my family." And that's what she started to do. She started to weave a web around and around the breadcrumb, and the ant jumped up and he said, "No! That's my breadcrumb." And he got behind the breadcrumb and he started to push. He pushed and he pushed and he pushed. Oh. And before he knew it, he had pushed that breadcrumb all the way to his anthill. He looked at Grandmother Spider, and well, Grandmother Spider, she looked at him. She said, "See, I knew you could do it. You can do anything you set your mind to." And the ant thought about what Grandmother Spider said, and then he said, "Thank you." And that night, the ant and all of his family had a wonderful dinner of breadcrumb and guava jelly. Ants love guava jelly. This is my story. Believe it or not. Well, I want to tell stories about my favorite spider. What, you don't have a favorite spider? Come on now. My spider, the one I like, is a very special spider. You might know this spider. He's a trickster spider. There are stories about him from West Africa, but also stories about him from the Caribbean, Jamaica, from Suriname, which is in South America, and from the United States. This spider is over 1,000 years old. This spider has books written about him, and he has movies. This is some kind of spider. Do you know his name? I bet you know his name. Yes, it's Anansi the spider. Yes. Everyone knows about Anansi the spider. He's a trickster. He always does like to get something for nothing, and it doesn't necessarily work for him. So I'm going to tell you some Anansi stories, all right? All right, so where should I start? Where should I start? I know. I love this story. This story is about how spiders got their little waists. Do you know where your waist is? That's that space in here somewhere, okay? Now, before Anansi, spiders had big, pretty waists. But because of Anansi, spiders now have little, itty, bitty, teeny waists. And this is what happened. Now, you know Anansi. He wants something for nothing or for very little work. And this one day, Anansi wanted to get some food. And he decided what he would do is go into the nearby village and simply ask for it. So he went into the village, and in the center of the village was this huge meeting tree, and he sat under the meeting tree and waited. Well, all of a sudden, he smelled something. Ooh, Anansi smelled hot baked bread. He went over to where he heard it and said to the cook, "Excuse me, can I have a small piece of bread that you're making?" And the baker said, "Why, of course, but there's one small problem." "What's that?" "It's not ready yet." "Oh, that's not a problem. You see, I have a rope. I'm going to give you one end of the rope, and I'm going to tie the other one around my waist, and when that bread is ready, you give that rope a tug, and I come and get it, okay?" "All right." Anansi was happy. He went back under the meeting tree and waited for that hot-baked bread. As he waited, all of a sudden, he smelled something. Anansi smelled fried chicken. Anansi loved fried chicken. He went over to where he smelled. "Excuse me, would you mind if I could have a small piece of that chicken you're frying?" And the chef said, "Of course. There's one problem. It's not quite ready yet." "Oh, that's no problem. You see, I have a rope. I'm going to give you one end of the rope, and I'm going to tie the other end around my waist, and when that chicken is ready, you just give that rope a tug, and I'll come and get it, okay?" "Okay." Anansi was happy. Soon he was going to have hot-baked bread and fried chicken. Oh, this was going to be, Anansi smelled something. He smelled chocolate cake. Anansi loved chocolate cake. "Excuse me, would you mind if I could have a small piece of chocolate cake when it's ready?" And the baker said, "Of course, but there's one small problem. It's not quite ready yet." "That's not a problem. You see, I have a rope. I'm going to give you one end of the rope, and I'm going to tie the other one around my waist, and when that chocolate cake is ready, You give that rope a tug. I'll come and get it, okay? Okay. Nancy was happy. He was going to have hot baked bread and fried chicken and chocolate cake. He went back under the meeting tree and waited for this evening's dinner. All of a sudden, he felt a tug. Whoa! The bread was ready. Whoa! He felt another one. The chicken was ready. He felt another one, and the cake was ready. Everything was ready at the same time. And Nancy, he was being pulled this way and this way and this way and this way and this way until he went around and around and around, and then he fell down. Ew. And when he stood up, instead of having a big, pretty waist, he had a little itty bitty teeny waist. And every time he thought about hot baked bread, his side hurt. Oh. And every time he thought about fried chicken, his other side hurt. Oh. And every time he thought about chocolate cake, his bum hurt. Oh! Do you think Nancy learned his lesson? No. He's still playing tricks to this day. This is my story. Believe it or not. I love a Nancy. I love a Nancy. I say that there is a little bit of Nancy in all of us. Yes. And on it goes. The story's about a Nancy. Now, this next story that I'm going to tell you is a book as well. And I've performed in all of the libraries, the Boston Public Libraries, all of them. And each one has a copy of this book. It is called A Nancy and the Moss-Covered Rock. Have you heard it? Do you have the book? It's a wonderful book. Well, A Nancy and the Moss-Covered Rock. As always, Nancy wanted something for nothing, and one day he was walking down the road minding his own business, and he came to a clearing. And in the center of the clearing was this wondrous thing. Nancy looked down and said, "Oh my, isn't this a beautiful moss-covered rock?" All of a sudden, woo, 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 kerplop! Down Nancy fell. Wow. Well, an hour went by and Nancy woke up. He was very confused. "What happened?" he said. "All I said was, 'Oh my, isn't this a beautiful moss-covered rock?'" Woo, kerplop! Down he fell again. Well, another hour went by. Nancy woke up, and he realized that this was a magic rock. This was a wonderful way to get all the food he wanted. This would allow him to play tricks on his friends and get food. But where should he go? Where should he go? Where should he go? Oh! He decided to go over to see his friend, Elephant. Elephant always had good food, so he went over to Elephant's house and he stopped. There was Elephant sitting out in front of his house with a huge basket of peanuts. Oh, Nancy loved peanuts. "Elephant, Elephant, would you like to go for a walk with me through the forest?" "Ooh, okay, Nancy." And off they went. Through the forest, through the forest, through the forest. "Elephant, Elephant, do you see what I see?" Oh, Nancy, isn't this a beautiful moss-covered rock? Woo, 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 kerplop, down elephant fell. Nancy went over to Elephant's house and got that basket of peanuts and took them back to his house. An hour went by. Elephant woke up. He looked around and didn't see a Nancy anywhere. He was confused, so he decided to go home. When he went home, all of his peanuts were gone. He was very sad. But Nancy was very happy. Where'd it go now? Where'd it go now? Where'd it go now? He went over to his friend Monkey. Monkey always had good food. He went over to Monkey's house, and there was Monkey sitting out in front of his house with a huge bunch of bananas. Nancy loved bananas. Monkey, would you like to go for a walk with me through the forest? Okay, Nancy. And off they went. Through the forest, through the forest, through the forest. Monkey, do you see what I see? Oh, Nancy, isn't this a beautiful moss-covered rock? Ooh, kerplop, down Monkey fell. Nancy went over to Monkey's house and got that basket of bananas and took them home. An hour went by, Monkey woke up. He was very confused. He looked around, didn't see a Nancy anywhere, so he went home. When he went home, all of his bananas were gone. He was very sad. But Nancy was very happy. All right. To make a long story short, Nancy played this trick on zebra, hippopotamus, and lion. And nobody plays tricks on lion. But way back in the bush was a small bush deer. And she had watched Nancy do this and do that and play tricks on all the animals, and she decided she was going to teach him a lesson. So she went out and got a beautiful gourd and filled it with all these wondrous things. What do you think she should have put in there? What do you like to eat? Yes, she put in a big bunch of grapes, boom, into the basket. Yes, she put in ice cream, boom, into the basket. Yeah, what? Yes, boom. She put pizza in there too, from the pizza bush. And she took this wondrous basket over and sat it down in front of her home and waited. Well, she didn't have to wait for long because here comes Nancy. And when he saw that gourd full of those wondrous things, he just knew he had to get some of them. So he said to Bush Deer, Bush Deer, would you like to go for a walk with me through the forest? All right, Nancy. And off they went. Through the forest, through the forest, through the forest. Bush Deer, do you see what I see? No, Nancy, I don't see anything. Nancy couldn't believe his ears. Oh, Bush Deer, look. Don't you see what I see? No, Nancy, I don't see anything. Bush Deer, look. You are not looking close enough. Look. Don't you see what I see? No, Nancy, I don't see anything. What should I see? Look. Isn't this a beautiful moss-covered rock? Woo, woo, woo. Kerpop. Down Nancy fell. Bush Deer went over to Nancy's house and took everything he had taken and returned it to their rightful owner, and then disappeared in the tall grass. Well, an hour went by. Nancy woke up. He was very confused. He looked around, didn't see Bush Deer anywhere. So he decided to go home. When he went home, everything that he had taken was gone. He was very sad. But all the other animals were very happy. Do you think Nancy learned his lesson? No. He's still playing tricks to this day. This is my story. Believe it or not. Okay. Since I'm sitting and starting here, I might as well say this. I love my job, and I am extremely grateful to Hibernian Hall and Madison Park for bringing me here to tell stories and recording them. This is my joy. I love my job as a vocalist and a storyteller and an arts educator. So you can see I'm happy. Now, what I'm going to do is tell you one more story about our favorite guy, Anansi the spider. I love Anansi. Oh my goodness, I love Anansi. This story is about Anansi's family. Anansi and his 6 children, right? Yes, 6 children. Anansi had 6 children. He was blessed. And each one of his children had a very special talent. You know what a talent is. What's your talent? You see, his 6 children, his first and eldest child had the ability to look out into the field and space and see any trouble going on. That child's name was See Trouble. His second child was an architect. This child could build anything. Fast, lickety-split. This child was named Road Builder. His third child had a very unique talent. This child could drink massive amounts of water. Loved it. This child was called River Drinker. His fourth child, his fourth child was a chef. This child could fillet anything, lickety-split, flip. This child was called Game Skinner. His fifth child was very athletic. This child could take a rock and throw it higher and farther than anybody else. This child's name was Rock Thrower, and Anansi's 6th child had the very unique talent of being able to spread themselves wider and higher and wider and higher and soft. This child's name was Pillow. Now, if you've grown up in a large family like I have, I'm the oldest of 6. You know 6 children eat a lot of food. So every day, Anansi would go out in the morning to gather food for his children's dinner. And as the sun went down, the children would all gather back around the table and wait for their daddy Anansi to have the food to feed them. Well, This one day, time came. Belly started grumbling from hungry. The kids went down and got ready for dinner from their daddy and Nancy. They waited and they waited, but Daddy and Nancy never came. They waited. They got very nervous. What had happened to Daddy and Nancy? He was always there. Well, Sea Trouble went and peered out into space to see if she could see what had happened to their daddy. Oh, my goodness. She saw what had happened. Daddy and Nancy had been swallowed whole by a big fish at the bottom of the pond. The children looked around and they decided they were going to go get their daddy. They were going to rescue their daddy, and they all lined up and started to go down the road. The one who was in the front was Road Builder. Road Builder moved everything out the way, lickety-split, and moved everything out the way, and here they came to the pond. And they looked into the pond, and sure enough, there was Daddy and Nancy down there at the bottom. They could see the big fish. Well, River Drinker walked over to the side of the pond and started to drink that water. Ooh. River Drinker drank all that water and then sort of swished back. Sure enough, there was that fish. Well, the chef jumped in. Game Skinner took out his Ginsu knives and flip, 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 flip. He filleted that fish. And out popped their Daddy and Nancy. Oh, he was so happy to see his children. He kissed each one of them. Whoa. They went down, and all together they took that fillet of fish and they started going home with it. That was dinner. All of a sudden, way out from the sky came a hawk. This hawk came swooping down and grabbed Daddy and Nancy in their claws and started to fly away. Up, up, up went Daddy and Nancy in the claws. Rock thrower went over and picked up a rock and hurled it back into the air. And oh, it hit that hawk right on the claw, and the claw opened. And Daddy and Nancy started to float down through the air. Sure enough, fast, 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 Pillow stepped out and started to spread themselves wider and higher and wider and higher and wider and higher and soft. And Nancy fell right on Pillow and bounced. Ba-doom, ba-doom, ba-doom. Oh! Nancy was so happy. His children had saved him not once, but twice. Well, they took that fillet of fish home, and that evening they had a wonderful dinner. Late at night, when all of the children were sleeping, Daddy and Nancy looked out, and way out there, he saw a bright ball of white light. He went out to see. There it was, that ball of white light. And sitting next to me was Naomi, the sky god. Naomi said to Nancy, Nancy, give this ball of light to the child who helped you the most. This was a wonderful gift. Nancy had to decide which child he should give it to. And he thought about it. He said, oh, I'm going to give it to Sea Trouble. No. River Drinker. No. Game Skinner. Yeah. No. Of course. Pillow. No. Well, this went on and on all night. Naomi, the sky god, finally said, Nancy, when you decide which child should have this ball of white light, you can give it to them. Until then, I am going to take this ball of light and put it high, high, high into the midnight sky. And when you decide, we can take it down and give it to them. Whoa. Well, this was good. And that's what Naomi did. Put that ball of white light up into the sky. Do you know what that ball of light is? What's it called? The moon. And if you look up into the sky, it's still up there. You know why? Nancy couldn't decide which one of his children helped him the most because he loved them all equally. And that's why that moon is up in the sky. This is my story. Believe it or not. There are many, many stories from all around the world. They teach lessons. They record history. And they're just plain entertaining. I bet you can tell stories too, or you've heard stories told. Storytelling is a wonderful thing to listen to or to do. I'll leave you with that. Create your own folk tales. My name is Valerie Stevens. Thank you, Hibernian Hall, and thank you, Madison Park. Funga lafia, ashe, ashe. Funga lafia, ashe, ashe.